NFL Black Monday was just a few days ago. Of course, we know Black Monday after week 18 or the final regular season game of every year, the teams roll out their firings. We see the job openings, and now we know where the job openings are. Of course, the Saints and the Bears let their coaches go in the middle of the season, so we know that those job openings have been open. But let's talk about the 4 Black Monday firings that came across my radar, and one that actually surprised me until I looked into it. First one's Antonio Pierce. I'm kind of torn on it being warranted because the Raiders have been a crapshoot for many years now. Of course, when you have the old coach ran out of town and then you have Antonio Pierce coming in for the interim and you have guys like Max Crosby saying, I'm going to be pissed if Antonio Pierce isn't the next coach. That's all fine and dandy, but where's the franchise quarterback situation? I mean, Jimmy G, Aiden O'Connell, what is it, Gardner Minshew now? I mean, come on, guys. What are we doing? So I'm a little torn on it being actually a warranted, deserving in the eyes of ownership firing. They felt like it was okay to do it because the Raiders have been a crapshoot. This guy was not set up for success. He should have had more than basically a year and a half to get it done. He did have a 9-17 record. Now, unfortunately, he did have a 10-game losing streak this year, which management is more than likely looking at. But again, outside of Brock Bowers, who are these guys really rocking with? You have to ask yourself that question. They averaged 26th in points and 27th in yards for offense under Antonio Pierce as head coach, so not very great. Defense was a little better, 17th in points and 15th in yards defensively. No playoff appearances, obviously no playoff wins, nothing of that nature. No real impressive part here from Antonio Pierce as you take a look into his tenure as a former Raiders player, now as a former Raiders coach, and you kind of wonder what's next on the radar for him. I can't really tell you that. I'll just tell you that I never thought Antonio Pierce was the guy in, Vegas to really get them over the hump. We've seen this ownership before. We've seen this franchise before make decisions by, bringing in coaches that have maybe previously failed, or you kind of just wonder, why did they bring them in? And that was kind of my question when they brought in Antonio Pierce. But as a Saints fan, I can't say anything because our next head coaching search is the most pivotal in franchise history. Jerod Mayo. I was shocked, but I wasn't. It was a bad season, yes, but I was also kind of torn on it being warranted as well. Now, when you come out and win 4 games in your first year, it's not a great first impression. I'm kind of not a fan of, coaches getting fired after 1 year. Because what did they really have to learn? What were they really able to accomplish? What kind of culture change were they really able to, implore or deploy on the team? You know, it's tough when you get fired after 1 year because it clearly it was very ineffective in management's eyes, in the front office's eyes, and you have ownership breathing down your neck when you got a guy who wins 4 games in his first year as a head coach. But it was ugly. He started 1-6. You beat the Bengals to open the year. You lose 6 in a row. And again, 6 straight losses. And then you lose 7 of your last 10 games, including 5 ugly blowouts. One of those wins is against the bad Bears, the awful Jets, and the Josh Allen-less Bills. So take for it what you will. They were 30th in points and 31st in yards under Jerod Mayo offensively, 22nd in points and yards defensively under Jerod Mayo, and no playoffs. Again, another bad situation. You can say what you want about Drake May, but I still don't think he's the guy, and I wouldn't be shocked if years down the road we're sitting here speaking the same sentiment. And not Jerod Mayo, Drake May does not have his 5th-year option picked up by the New England Patriots. I'm not telling you that that's going to happen. I'm just telling you what could happen based off how this season has played out, because it was disappointing for the Patriots. I don't think anybody really expected New England to really be able to kind of make anything. Now, you do have Jerod Mayo coming out and saying, oh, yeah, we got some cash and we're ready to spend it. But then you trade Matthew Judon. And then you're struggling offensively again, 30th in points, 31st in yards. And I'm not saying Jerod Mayo's an offensive guy, but all the results of the team come back to the leader, which is the head coach, and he was culpable for it. Doug Peterson was fired, and it was definitely warranted. I hated to see him go because you see him come in after the awful Urban Meyer experiment, who gets fired right in the middle of the season. I remember I was doing Petty Sports when that happened, and Urban Meyer was just absolutely horrible. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach in Doug Peterson who comes in, has that on his resume of handing Tom Brady, 33% of his Super Bowl losses. Same thing with Bill Belichick. The fact that you're able to come in and say that you won in a shootout in the Super Bowl gives you some promise as a head coaching resume. But when you go 22 and 29 as the head coach, you get Trevor Lawrence to a point to where it feels like he's that perennial number one overall pick. And now you have people, me included, questioning if he's a bust because that's what he looks like. And now, yes, he was out for the year, and maybe this firing wasn't super fair because Trevor Lawrence was hurt. And you hang on to the fact that he had the immaculate 27-0 comeback against the Chargers in the playoffs. Now, albeit they were coached by Brandon Staley, but you have to take it into context. They were 16th in points and yards offensively. They were 18th in points and 25th in yards defensively. So again, that is going to be a reflection of the head coaching. And when you look at Antonio Pierce, Jerod Mayo's firing, Doug Peterson's firing, Doug Peterson definitely had the most to work with, whether it was Trevor Lawrence, whether it was Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby. You have Calvin Ridley for a tad bit, and then, he goes over to, what's it called? He goes over to the the Titans, excuse me. He heads over to the Titans. And so, God, I still remember when that man was a Falcon. So crazy. It seems like it was yesterday. You have a guy like Calvin Ridley who's able to make a little bit of noise, but nothing really. And you just don't feel like Doug was really able to do what he should have with those rosters, with those teams, especially in a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who, you feel like you have your quarterback. So it was definitely warranted seeing the fall off of Doug Peterson. And then the one that shocked me the most, the last one here on the NFL Black Monday firings, was Lou Anarumo. I thought it wasn't warranted at first, but upon further review, I can definitely understand why. Lou Anarumo did make it to the playoffs twice with the Bengals. He had a 5-2 record in the playoffs, technically himself as a defensive coordinator. And, I felt like Lou Anarumo was one of those defensive coaches to where he was great situationally. Like you might be giving up points all game, but if you're, or, points and yards throughout the game, but if you're in a situation to where you need to stop or you need a certain amount of yards not gained in a pivotal moment, in a pivotal game, I feel like more times than not, Lou Anarumo up until this season was able to perform. And when you get into the deeper review, he averaged 23rd in defensive points and 24th in yards, including 2022 having an immaculate year of defense, 6th in points, 16th in yards. And, that was really the season where, you thought the Bengals defense had turned it around. You see Zach Taylor and Lou Anarumo come in at the same time and, you know, clean up the Bengals from what they were, from 2 wins to 4 wins to 10 wins to 12 wins. And then you have a couple of 9-win seasons. And anytime you're falling back to mediocrity or just being average as a team, ownership's going to look at that. Management's going to look at that and wonder what's going on. And when you see that, defense was in the low to high 20s, gets back to the single digits around the mid 10s or so, and then it falls back to what it was, that's unfortunate. And when you let a guy like Jesse Bates get away from you in free agency, now that is not the defensive coordinator's fault, but you're still rocking with a guy like Trey Hendrickson. You still have a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt, who is not all worldly, but can make plays in moments if he needs to. That's probably where management's looking at. It's very unfortunate for Lou Anarumo. I do believe he'll have another defensive job in the NFL, probably sooner than later. He'll have some suitors. It's just like some of these other coaches out here. They're going to be able to go pick where they want. Kirk Cousins is a player who's going to possibly be able to pick where he wants. I think Lou Anarumo, as a defensive coordinator, can probably go and pick where he wants to play. So y'all get in the chat, get in the comments, let me know what you think about NFL Black Monday as we have Antonio Pierce, Jerod Mayo, Doug Peterson, and Lou Anarumo, at least just the ones that I put on here on Black Monday, actually eliminated from the NFL. They were relieved of their head coaching and defensive coordinator positions. And if I had to guess someone else to get another job first, it's going to be Lou Anarumo, probably followed by Doug Peterson. Now, Doug Peterson does have a little bit of an eyesore on his record because of his tenure the last couple of years in Jacksonville. But the next team that's being, looking to hire him will have to make that assessment when the time comes.
Hey, it's AJL here. Appreciate you sticking to the end of the video here on YouTube. You could have chose any other show, but you chose my video, and for that, I'm very grateful. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media. Hit the bell on the channel so you never miss a post. Check me out on all social media platforms. Right here, you'll find a chance to subscribe to the show, a related video, and a playlist. See you guys in the next one.